Hold on.
Was not meant to happen.
There we go.
I didn't even click it a second time. Anyway, welcome back, folks. Orange Hat here with my hat crew. John Wick, Excommunicado. Run, Wick, run. So, yeah, I got my hat crew with me. I got Fade Salvation. I got Nerd with a cigar. And Nerd is going to be joining me up top here because ladies always get up top. That's what
Bye,
she said.
everyone.
Anyway. If I can actually.
If you can figure it out.
Yeah, I know, right? And
it's all right. I don't mind.
There we go.
The bottom.
Okay, there we go.
That's what she said.
I was gonna say something else.
So, John Wick Chapter 3. And
you're welcome.
This one actually had a subtitle, Parabellum. And it means, or parabellum is part of the Latin phrase "si vis pacem parabellum," which is if you want peace, prepare for war, which was also a staple of the 2003 Punisher film with Thomas Jane. So this movie kicks off right after the Excommunicado has gone into or is in the 1 hour phase. So John Wick is running, and boy, is he running. We see the major players responding to the Excommunicado. The countdown, when they're doing the countdown for this, John Wick, Excommunicado, 1 hour Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. And then they keep on cutting to it. It really does sell the tension. And we see that there are some people watching him, like the Bowery homeless watcher. I love it. He's just doing his little talking to himself thing, and he's like,
yeah.
TikTok.
They got a comedic. They got a comedic actor because you're like, oh, this dude's crazy, and you're hoping, oh, he went into an alley, maybe he'll get like a second of reprieve. Nope.
Yep, because the fucking Bowery is everywhere, and I love that too.
No time to dilly-dally, Mr. Wick.
Yep. I love that. He's just like...
I like the separation, too, of, like... Yeah, he's... When you see the watch, you're like, oh.
Yeah, that dude has like a
some crazy
$3,000 watch. That's one of the Bowery's, or that's one of the Bowery boys. But, yeah, so we then see Winston and Sharon coming back to the Continental. And he's like, for $14 million, everybody in New York is going to want a piece of Mr. Wick. I would say the odds are about even. I mean, John Wick is like the top assassin of the game. And, well, he does really show it. And we also see that there's a cabbie that's in the know because it's like, New York Public Library, okay? Well, they're in a gridlock. Change of plans. The Continental. Make sure that he's received by the concierge because he can't take the dog with him because the dog would be in danger. So he's like, yes, sir, Mr. Wick. And I'm thinking to myself, are these people everywhere? I mean, even a fucking cabbie knows or is in the know here. So we then get to the library and he asks for a Russian folklore book, which is one of his backups. It has a marker, which he received at the end. This is an inconsistency. He received a marker at the end of the second movie. Who does the marker belong to? Well, that was done in case there was a failure at the box office. They went back and have the marker in the book, and the marker belongs to Sophia. That we learn later on is Halle Berry. Well, I really wish they had just had the marker in his hand already, and he was just retrieving the Ruska Roma cross, as well as the coins, and does his goodbye kiss to his wife. And then we get Ernest, this big motherfucker, who's reading from Dante. And I'm like, this guy's huge.
That was a big dude. And like that fight scene was brutal. Like the way his jaw, like he broke his jaw, I was like, oh my god. And then just like puts the book back on the shelf and everything. I'm like, what in the world? Like,
right?
That's a lot of work to like bring him down to his level, to be honest. Because he's
right.
I mean, he's a big dude.
Yeah.
It was like a David versus Goliath scenario, kind of looking like him, just like looking up, like going, "Oh shit!"
And
I do like that we saw the weeknesses, like the weaknesses of John Wick. Like he still got stabbed in the shoulder. Like he's still, like he had an hour of running, but he hasn't had a reprieve since movie 2. So like, he's just all adrenaline, hasn't slept. People are coming to kill me for real this time, and like everybody. So the stakes are pretty high. But yeah, it's they just jump right into it in this movie.
And I like how this guy is actually willing to break the rules. He's like, or time's almost up. Who's gonna know? Or nobody will know the difference.
Yeah.
I mean, $14 million is a lot of money. Not if you can't live, or not if you don't live to spend it. It's one of the best freaking lines. It's like, not if you can't spend it. So then we see that the Bowery is honoring the Excommunicado. He's like, let it be known that the Bowery will honor the Excommunicado. No services, no refuge, no safe harbor, or no help of any kind. So then he goes to Doc because he got stabbed and whatnot, and he has 5 minutes. Doc helps him out up to the last second, and he has to stop. And it really is a touching scene because Randall Duck, him, and Keanu Reeves know each other from The Matrix, where he was Keymaster. And
I feel like this movie just got all of the Matrix people. Like, I'm surprised they didn't cast Carrie Ann Moss and Stella Halle Berry, because, like, you know, it was like the lead up to this movie, at least how they were kind of selling it. It was like, it's gonna be Morpheus and Neo again.
Yeah, right.
In a sense, I guess you could call it a bit of like a reunion for like some of the cast members and the ones that were doing the stunts and all that, because they all worked with them in the Matrix films, as you guys said.
I mean, the director is actually his freaking stunt double from The Matrix, Chad Stahelski. He's actually his stunt double. But yeah, so he stops on the second, as he's supposed to, but he knows that the high table will never believe it. So he's like, well, they'll know what? That I showed you where the meds were. So he gives him a 2-shot 25, or a 2-shot. I think it was either a 22 pea shooter, but it's a Derringer, or it's a Derringer pea shooter essentially. And so he's like, right here, or he's like, where? Right here in the floater room. Just make sure you don't hit the. Oh shit! Wait, one shot may not be enough. Right here. Just
right
make
here.
sure you don't hit the.
Yes.
He's gonna take the collarbone and the large intestine. But John Wick is so good with his guns, and he knows his weapons, that he knows exactly what Doc is saying. He's not to hit anything vital. So it's like, okay, this is believable, but we never see Doc again. Just saying.
Right.
So I'm guessing the high table went after him. So then we see that he's out there and that the contract is active. And I like how the entirety of the administration takes a pause at the end of the countdown, as if it's like a small reverence for Mr. Wick, a moment of silence because he's about to die, essentially. And then they just.
I liked all those behind the scenes scenes.
Right.
Those scenes were really fun because you get all of these like ladies who are kind of like gothy, tattooed, and like it almost felt like a 1950s, 1960s, like you know, all of the like control rooms for like phones and stuff, like I'm trying to call, click, click, click. And yeah, it felt really cool. but because I was like,
Mhm.
man, I want to spend more time here, like with these people.
Right.
But that was
The
just,
way how they blend both modern as well as retro in this film,
Yeah.
as they were working on each chapter, I think they did a really good job on it.
Mm-hmm. Fade, anything you want to add?
Well, I got some issues, but that can be waiting until after because it's just towards the end of the movie that I had an issue with is all.
All right. So then the Chinese butchers notice Wick running, and so they give him a chase, and he gets into a gun shop where he Frankenstein's a revolver. Folks.
That was
he takes
really
it apart,
cool.
puts another piece in it because he realizes the bullets won't work. So he's like, okay, I'm going to have to get a different barrel. I'm going to have to get a thing. And he's checking the sound, making sure it clicks or it clicks right. And last second, boom, it's like, there you go. It worked. You got your small 50-second reprieve. So then we get the fight in the Hall of Knives, basically.
Oh, that
is what I call it.
That was
the
actually
greatest
pretty
choreography.
A lot of people were like really laughing their heads off on that one. And I watched it like the second time with my brother and some of his friends. Everyone is still laughing. I was laughing at that because the way how they pull it off is just not, I mean, yeah, I get the fact that they're trying to kill each other, but the way it comes off, it's hilarious.
It was.
Yeah.
It
really
was,
is.
yeah. It was just kind of like, huh, okay.
And so he handles all of them, and then one guy's pulling a knife out, and he's like, just with an axe finish. And it's like, okay, good reprieve there. Hello to the chat, Vanya and my buddy Craig. How you all doing in the chat?
Hello.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Bobin, yeah, he was an NBA player.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that explains a lot.
Yeah, well, he is a tall motherfucker. Dude's like 8 or 7 or 8 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So we then we see that Sharon receives the dog, and I love that because the dog's like whining, and it's like, I'm worried about my owner who hasn't even named me. Well, come on in. Okay.
Oh, okay, boo. Oh boy, food.
Yeah, Sharon just like he's like nice to them.
I was distracted by the dog during the dog scenes.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but like when John, like going back a little bit, when John was in the taxi, there's a part where it like cuts away and then it cuts back to John, and you just see the dog like, and I'm like, oh, he's so happy he's doing his job. Like, and anytime, like, you could tell he was just like, I'm like, oh, it's so cute. And then later, like, I will get to it when we get to it, but Halle Berry's dogs, I was like, no, not the dog. Like, so, yeah.
Yeah.
Bringing it full circle from the first one where he started all this because they killed his freaking dog. So,
yeah. And the thing is, the first 3 movies take place over the span of a single week.
Yep.
The way how they spread that out is just...
That's crazy. Yeah.
Insane.
Mm-hmm.
So
wait, all 4 movies are a single week?
No, just the first 3.
Just the first 3. Okay.
The fourth one takes place over the span of a couple, or I believe like a couple weeks.
Oh, okay.
I'll have to watch 4
or
again, but
a few days at least. But
I was like, man, that would suck. Your dog dies, and then like 2 weeks later, you're well. Anywho, I'll keep that to myself.
So the Italians spot him next, and we get the stable fight with the horse kicking battle. And I'm like, dude, this is freaking great. Now, question for everybody in the chat and in the panel: have you ever been kicked by a horse?
No, but I would assume it hurts a lot.
Not only just
close,
or like. I mean, you'd not only break a limb, but at the same time, you're likely to get yourself killed. Because if that thing hit you in the neck and broke you, you're dead.
Yeah.
If it gets a clean hit on you.
I've been bucked off a horse. I've been bucked off a horse, and then I nearly missed being kicked. But
I've been kicked.
Oh.
Where?
Full chest.
Oh no!
Yep.
Did it crack a couple ribs and sternum or something?
No, actually, luckily, no.
Okay.
But it didn't feel too good.
I can
Yeah,
I got
imagine.
kicked,
I bet.
and then I woke up later and was like, "The hell happened? You didn't put your hand on the horse walking around it." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh, fuck, that's right."
Yeah.
But yeah, I got kicked square in the chest. I'm like,
Ooh.
it was not pleasant.
Yeah,
It was.
there is
not
such a thing
pleasant.
as horsepower. Let me just tell you.
Yes.
That's
Pun intended.
why there's a reason called horsepower.
For real, yeah.
To answer Vanya's question here, yes, I believe it's like 2 to 3 weeks
Roughly
over the
2.
whole stretch of 1 through 4, the Book of Wick.
Mhm.
So let me get my phone back.
God,
on
that
here.
sucks for John. Good lord.
Yeah,
That's a shitty 3 weeks, man.
yeah. And so he, while he's fighting the bikers and kills the bikers that are chasing him he's on horseback. Great choreography there too.
What about that one scene? Have we gotten to the scene where he's like got the guy wrapped around yet, or no?
He wraps when he takes off with the horse. Yeah.
Mm.
He ties one off,
Mm.
and then
Yeah.
he dragged it. Though it's like, oof,
Yep.
brutal.
Mm.
Did you want to add something about that?
Oh, I was just gonna say that had to you're like choking on your last breath and getting dragged around. It's like, oh man, that's seriously gotta hurt.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
So the contract is up to $15 million at this point. So the risk, what's the other damn the Gamora is not fucking around. The High Table wants Wick dead, and people or their assets are getting their asses handed to them. So then he arrives at the Ruska Roma Ballet House, and we see that one of the Zero's men, his students, watching as he goes in. So it's like, okay, somebody's watching Wick. And so he gets into the ballet house, and Angelica Houston, Morticia Adams, folks, an iconic actress.
I
You
love
can't get much
Angelica
better than-
Houston. I love her.
Yeah.
I
Correct
love
me if
her.
I'm wrong.
And-
Wasn't there a film called Witches though, where that lady was in?
Yes, she was also in Witches, the original Witches,
She was
not
also
not that weird 3-fingered one.
She was also the evil stepmother in Ever After, and I don't know why that movie's just so good to me. Like subjectively, I think that movie's amazing, but Angelica Houston's just put her in anything.
Yeah. So
Because she's only in this 10 minutes, but she does a fantastic job
Pretty much, yeah.
of her character's great.
Yep. Vanya, we are still in 2014 in the movies. In the movies, it is still 2014, all the way up to John Wick Chapter 4.
Oh, dang.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So then we see that his name, when part of the Ruska Roma, is Jardani Jovanovic. So Jovanovic, we understand, is how he got John Wick, because the last 4 is VICH, which is an Americanized version, WICK.
Interesting.
So then it tells him, he's like, I am a child of Belarus, an orphan from your tribe, and you are bound and I am owed. Even though he is excommunicado, he is still, she still helps him. And she's like, and what are all of this? And for what? A puppy. It wasn't just a puppy.
Yeah.
Now,
have you guys noticed that when that part was played in the trailer, they have it in English, but when you watch it in the film, it's in Russian.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. What I like too is that even though we have this kind of theme throughout the whole film of, okay, there are rules for the high tower and everybody kind of lives under the high tower, or high table. But under the high table, there are underground rules where blood is important, and okay, yeah, I'm excommunicated, but the doc's still gonna help me, and there's these other things going on, and we'll get to it it comes up later in the
Well,
later in the film with Ian
human.
McShane's
There's
character.
allegiances. That's really, or
Right,
they're not
exactly.
supposed to do that. They're not supposed to do
Right.
this, but they are human.
Right,
And they
right,
are
and that's
willing
like
to-
the two. That's like the main theme of the film, which I like that they explore. Is like, okay, here's the high table standards, and everybody follows them. But hey, this guy's my friend.
under
and
the table. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, right, exactly.
So we then see that she tears his ticket, which is basically he cannot come home. He cannot go back to the Ruscaroma. And being excommunicado, he is not allowed to anyway.
Mhm.
They flip the cross that he brought in and burn it into his back, which is like, yeesh. It's gotta
Yeah.
hurt. And then she sends him on a lifeboat to Casablanca. Not the movie, but the place. Morocco.
Aw.
So during this time, while Wick is crossing the ocean, an adjudicator comes to New York. And the medallion features Latin, just like the blood marker, the markers, as it reads Actionis Secundum Fidei. It translates to the phrase, we act according to what we believe ourselves to be, meaning that the whole organization will act according with the adjudicators by penalty of death. Whatever an adjudicator says is to be done. They speak for the entirety of the high table.
Mm.
So yeah, she goes to see Winston. Winston doesn't realize that she's there to adjudge him. And so they see this Santino D'Antonio's body, which I do not think is the same actor, but you know, who would want to come back just to lay on a slab, you know, and naked,
Right.
mind you. So she then tells Winston, "You have 7 days to get your affairs in order." And he's like, "I've been a service member for 40 years. I mean, he broke the rules in my hotel. That's the problem. Your hotel. Where is your fealty?" And it's like, well, you have all these people who the high table wants it all to be black and white, except that it's not, you know. The human element is the worst thing against against the high table. So she then visits the Bowery next, and I love this scene, man. She's
The
like,
performance on that one is good.
I mean, Lawrence Fishburne, dude,
does it.
legendary. You see rats with wings. I see the internet. It's a super flyway and whatnot. And so
Can't
she's
hack
like,
it, can't trace it, no
Yeah.
IP,
Can't hack it, can't track it.
no IP address.
It's like the underground of the underground, but it's pigeons.
It's like,
well,
can
it's
you
the
get
oldest
disease
of the
from
old
it?
school.
For sure.
I wouldn't recommend eating one.
Can you get diseases from it? Well, I wouldn't recommend that you
I
eat
wouldn't eating one.
I love that. Well, I wouldn't recommend that you eat one. And then he holds his bird a little bit
he's
further
like,
away.
"Don't touch my baby."
It's like when people who don't like work with animals talk to people who work with animals, and they're like, "Can't you get sick?" I'm like, "Yeah, but you could get sick like licking a public toilet at your local, Valero. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just
challenge.
right. Like,
Okay, well.
You can't answer your own question.
sorry for
What
the
is that
imagery,
doing?
but apparently licking toilets, but it's just funny. Like I grew up on a lot of farms. People are like, well, you're around all these animals, you're gonna get sick, and it's like, just back off. So it made me laugh in that context of like non-animal people talking to animal people. I'm like, aren't you gonna get sick? No, like, mind your own business.
Yep. And so she gives him 7 days, and it's like, 7 days to do what exactly? You gave John Wick 7 bullets. You have 7 days. In 7 days, you abdicate your throne. It's just laughing out. Like, do you know what the Bowery is, adjudicated?
You know what happens when I wave my hand?
Yep. I just love that. He's like, I am the Bowery, baby.
I am all that you deign to.
Yep. I am all that you deign not to look at. And we see he's like, oh my God, dude, I love it. So we then cut to she's like, do not make the mistake that you are thinking that you live outside of the rules. Or the High Table, essentially, he created the Bowery, and the High Table accepted it, essentially. But by accepting it, they put him under the table. Because he was taking the dregs of the society, of the guild, and turning them into assets for himself. So they allowed him, essentially, this is speculation, folks, they actually allowed the Bowery King to ascend and to have this fraternity under the table. But he's still bound by the table.
I was hoping they would go more into like him, or just give him more time, because I don't know, like it felt like when they were leading up to this film, when they were selling it, they're like, hey, we're gonna get, you know, Lawrence Fishburne, and then there wasn't enough Lawrence Fishburne, in my opinion, in this movie. There wasn't enough of the Bowery and the Bowery King. Like he got like what 4 or 5 scenes in the film.
Because if you really think about it, the network that the Bowery King actually operates, yes, we see most of it in New York, but then he decides to like move a little bit further. So technically, one would say that the network that the Bowery King actually operates is arguably a lot larger than what we actually see in the film.
Because he branches out to Paris, and he has his own insignia. So the High Table is aware of him, but it's like, fuck, we gave way too much power to somebody like that, because he's using all of the homeless, essentially. And he's giving them everything they need, but that he wants them to remain basically looking like dregs of society. So we then see that Wick is in Casablanca, and he's heading he's walking around, and these 3 guys with knives come out, so he fights them to a standstill until the concierge of the Moroccan Continental. Yep. Because he's in Morocco. Casablanca is in Morocco, for those of you who don't know. And he's excommunicado. And the manager has granted him amnesty. So the guy doesn't want to take that, so he turns around and shoots the guy in the head. I love that. Welcome to Casablanca, Mr. Wick.
And then the other 2 guys are like, okay, we're gonna step away from this shit.
Yep.
And then one of them tries to sneak one in, and then the concierge just like, I told you already, did I not?
Yeah. He just pops that melon right off. So we then get Halle Berry, and the dogs, and the dogs are not nice. And then she comes out and shoots John Wick, just doesn't fucking hesitate. Oh, John. Sophia, you can't kill the bearer of your marker. I didn't kill you.
I didn't kill you.
I shot you.
I just shot you. Nice suit.
Yep, because
I liked Halle Berry in this role. She's
oh yeah.
She
was a good casting. She did a good casting. There was a good job casting. I was kind of expecting her to show up at the end, though. Is that just me?
No, I didn't know where she was gonna come in, but I did know that it was gonna be early on, because I caught this scene where she's talking with him with the marker, about the marker and whatnot, and I caught it as a preview.
Okay.
Where they show a scene instead of a trailer, and it's like, oh, okay, so yeah, that works. So then we learn that John gave a marker to her because she needed his help, and he was there, and he helped get her daughter out of the life. Basically, John has a way of getting people out of the life under the table. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
And so then we cut to the adjudicator.
There's still so much mystery. Sorry to interrupt.
It's all right. So we get the adjudicator at Zero's sushi shop, Mark Dacascos, played brilliantly by Mark Dacascos. A lot of people. I mean, when I first saw Mark Dacascos, it was in Hawaii Five-0 where he played. What's his name? Cho Fat or Yao Fat or Yo Fat, something like that. Your mama's fat.
Anyway.
Did
when you go to the sushi shop, though, Zero, I mean, they kind of like do the usual greeting in Japanese, and Zero goes to her and is like, "How can I help you?" And the adjudicator pretty much tells him, there's a task. It involves someone that broke the rules and stood against the table. John Wick. My students have not been idle. John Wick and all who've helped him. You've heard the stories about him, of course. Killed scores of men this past week alone because of a dog.
A car. Or a dog. A car.
And I'm interested.
Yeah.
Very. And you're like, no, it wasn't just about the dog, though. Like,
right.
And then he just gives her like a piece of the blowfish. He's like, blowfish. Very fatal. No soy.
Yeah,
she
right.
just takes it in her hand and just eats it like that.
And it's like,
I have been of service, you have been served.
I will be of service.
I have been of service. I will be of service, or I have served, and I will be of service.
Mm.
So then we get the Ruska Roma are first, and man, when they are slashing up people, when they're cutting the motherfucker, as the Bowery King says later, holy crap, dude! You see them hiding against, or you don't see them hiding against the wall, and then you see them slash the dude, and it's like, where did he come from? And then how did that guy get there? So I actually rewind.
They were actually urban ninjas, if anything.
To a point. But the funny thing is, though, is that when we get later on to like the climax, two of Zero's students actually use a different assassin killing style, though, especially with the blades. If you notice, sometimes as they're killing the Ruska Roma off, one by one, some of them are using samurai swords, but two of them are actually using short blades with like there's like a handle that they have, and then the blades like roughly this much. And then
they're not using samurai swords. They're actually using short, or essentially a short sword version of a katana. Which I don't know exactly what they're called. I don't think it's a nadana, but it's definitely.
I think maybe no.
I think so. I don't know, but they're about like this. They're about like this long.
Yeah, because those ones, if I recall correctly, those were used with regards to seppuku.
Yeah. No, seppuku is about this long.
Oh.
Where these ones are about a little bit higher, or quite a bit longer. And so then we get the adjudicator coming in with Zero and his two students on the stage, and it's like, oh damn, dude. And so Angelica Houston's like, stop, out. And she's like, I have served, I'll be of service. Slit right through, folks. Both her hands. And I'm like, you did that to Angelica.
And you know what's funnier too is, I believe that wasn't that the same sword he was using, or no, it was a knife that he was cutting.
No, it was the same sword.
Oh, okay.
Or no. That was a different thing. Yeah, that was a butcher knife.
Okay.
Where the one that he put through her hand is the knives that they were, or the short swords that they were using to slice everybody up.
Oh, by the way, the short sword Wakazashi, I believe it says right here.
Okay, so Wakazashis. And basically they are reminding people that you do not exist above the table. You are bound to the table and its rules. If they say you do not help Wick, you don't fucking help Wick.
Mhm.
So this is essentially what the adjudicator is doing is no less than what the or is a little bit less than what the Marquis does in the fourth one, where she is bound to the rules of the table. We later learn that the Marquis is absolutely not. So we then see we go to the marker in the coin factory. Now, the asshole from Game of Thrones, I can't remember his name in Game of Thrones, but he is from Game of Thrones. He was
Bronn.
Yep, Bronn.
Because the whole time I was like, that's Bronn. That's Bronn right there.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones fans looking at his face.
And it's like, oh my god, now I'm just wondering where the hell Peter Dinklage is. It's so fucking awesome. It would be so freaking awesome if they had him in this or in game or in John Wick. Like he could be like some fucking mini assassin.
Or he could he could be a mini assassin, or he could play a role like Ian McShane or the Bowery King, where he's just like this really. He would just be really cool for somebody who's like really in charge of everything and has lots of power, and is just like this tiny guy, you know?
Yeah. It's like you don't expect a little
like you don't see him. Right, like you don't see him, let's say you like don't see him for half the movie, and then like halfway through the movie you just hear about him and all the rumors, and then he walks in and you're like, wait, him? It would have just been funny. Yeah.
And so he wants to make amends. John Wick does. And we hear about the origin or the possible origins of assassins. Is it from Assassin or from Assassin? And it's like, well, who knows? But anyway, Barada then starts questioning Sophia about her dog, and it's like, you're not about to pull something stupid, are you? Well, yeah. He's like, this dog, this will be your gift to me. The commerce of relations. And she's like, no. And I'm like, kindred spirit, she's about to go full-blown John Wick. This was when I was first watching this movie. It's like, she's going to go John Wick on this motherfucker.
And what's funny, too, John Wick's like going, Sophie, don't do it.
Don't do it. Yeah, he's trying to get her to stand down, but it's like, did you stand down? Yeah. The dog takes the shot in the vest because she has vests on her dogs, which is nice.
Did you guys notice the CGI for that?
I did.
Yeah. Yeah, the bullet clattering off. Yeah.
Right, like the dog falling over, and then the dog like looking up scared. There's like a 5-second moment where I'm like, that looks a little. Same thing with like the horse chasing scene, where it was like it was just off enough. Like the dimensions maybe weren't right, or maybe it was the shadows. I'm not sure what it was, but it was
a horse kick. The person is not in the shot. So basically, to explain it for you, Kate, the person isn't in the shot. They are inserted into the shot, and you notice the insert, or you notice the insert barriers.
Yeah, you can like see. Yeah. So there's just like there's a few moments like that. So like the horse kick, and then this particular thing when like the dog falls over. I was like, I had to rewind it because I was like, did I miss it? Am I?
Yeah. But yes, they did start delving into a little more CGI in this. Whenever there is a knife going into somebody, like that one that was going into the guy's eye earlier in this movie, I skirted over that because that was just disgusting.
I can't.
You know that those blades are CGI.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And no, I don't have a problem with CGI. It was just the. It's when you can notice it that it's an issue, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like Nolan does a really good job in his films of like combining practical with CGI, so it's almost seamless.
Or like,
of course.
Sorry, go on.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say like Jurassic Park, where they did implement CGI and all that and animatronic and stuff like that.
CGI that still holds up.
Yes, I would argue that the original 1993 Jurassic Park is better than Jurassic World from 2017 or whatever.
Hands down, I agree.
I mean, it's like you can notice that it's the same dinosaur. However, she went on, or in the first one, looks a lot more real than the next one, or than years later.
And you only see
an older dinosaur.
And you only see the dinosaurs for like 15, 20 minutes of the movie, and it still freaking hits when the banner's coming down at the end, and you're like, dopamine hit. Anyway, sorry to get off track.
But anyway, so we then get.
Like you said, Sophia goes all John Wick on.
She goes John Wick on him. It's like,
and the dog gets first at his side, and then she's like looking at John. He's like, he shot my dog, and he's like, I get it.
Yeah, he gets it.
Here's the thing. He was gonna die anyway. She hit him in the femoral artery when she shot him the first time. Or no, she hit him in the nuts when she shot him the first time. So that dude's definitely never having kids again. But when she goes to shoot him again, she goes on, or I believe, tibial artery. Now, the tibia.
Do you notice she's trained her dogs to go? Tibia.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah. So yeah, she went tibial artery on that dude. That dude's dead in a few minutes. But yeah, she trains her dog to go for nuts or to go for any
every time.
Place, really.
Every time. Yeah. Well, there's a time where he's pulling on the arms and the legs, but if they're standing, I noticed like it was 3 or 4 or 5 times. It was just nuts, and unless they were on the ground already.
Hey, Cass, good to see you.
Hello.
Cult Classic Cage in the house, folks.
Welcome.
The Cult Classic Cage, if you haven't. She's one of the humble. So then they have the shootout where we get gun foo, dog foo. I mean, all foo. So, yeah. And they seek, or John wants to, or seek, the one who sits under the, or the one who sits above the table. Or in acronym words, Tausat.
Basically, a while ago during that meeting, the guy mentioned that he has to follow Orion, or at least the dog that followed. I mean, the dog.
The small Orion. Dipper. Little Dipper. And keep walking until you're dead, and then just keep, or you feel like you're about to die, and then just keep walking. And if he wants to find you, he'll find you. If not, he'll leave you to die. So, yeah. So, after the shootout, which is great choreography, folks. Great choreography. Love the dog choreography. Love the training that Halle Berry went through in this film to do this film. She basically went through the same freaking shit that Keanu Reeves went through, and she did a great job with it.
Oh, yeah.
So,
she's a good action star.
Oh, yeah. I mean, instead of being on wires, just lifting her hands and be like, lightning, thunder, and all that sort of shit. She's actually getting in the nitty-gritty in this one, and she's kicking ass and does it very well.
Yeah. And she's using her, like, smaller frame, because it's all dudes.
Yep.
She's using her smaller frame to her advantage. Like, she learned how to fight. It's not just like, oh, here's a woman fighting dudes and kicking them around. It's like, no, she's using their, like, weight and momentum to her advantage.
Yep. So we then, after that is all done, they brought out to the desert, and she gives some water to her dog. She takes a sip, she pulls it back, drinks all of it, and then spits some back in, and he dips the marker. It's like, we're done. And it's like, no, we're not done. Get the fuck out of here, though. I don't ever want to see you again.
Earlier before they went to the meeting, John was saying to her, after this, you and I will be even. And she says, no, after this, we are less than even.
Yeah, I mean, she's basically lost her job after this point, too, right?
Oh, she's definitely going to be excommunicado because she stood against the table, or she stood against the table by shooting the marker, or by shooting Barada. So, basically, what's her name in the fourth one? just to give you a small taste, everything he touches dies.
Ooh.
And it's kind of true because Doc is most likely dead.
Yeah.
Sophia is most likely dead because she will be excommunicado.
Or in
And,
hiding. She's smart enough to go in
That
hiding.
one guy from John Wick 2, like when he's stabbed, might be dead. I mean, that one's still up in the air.
No, he's most likely, or
Probably.
if he makes it to a hospital, that'd be freaking hilarious.
It's like, guess who's back?
Yeah, it's like, guess who's back, motherfucker. But yeah. So during John's desert trek, the Bowery falls as they come for the king. He's like, okay, you have my fealty. In fact, I'm going to shove so much fealty up your ass, it'll become, or spilling out of your mouth. It's like,
that was funny.
You're only making it worse. So she's like, I warned you. What would happen? You had 7 days, or you gave John 7 bullets. Your penance will be paid with 7 cuts. Well, sometimes you need to cut a motherfucker. Avert your eyes, my sweet. The king is dead. Long live the king.
Long live the king.
He only cuts him 6 times.
I was
Actually,
counting
I
too.
noticed that.
I rewound it.
I was watching the movements too.
Actually,
like,
another
if
thing
that
too
was
on that,
sick, they
wouldn't
should've
those
sick.
oh, sorry, Geek, go ahead.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or.
And then he
1, 2, 3,
waits.
4,
And then the
5,
6th.
6.
Yeah, there's a pause
Yeah.
between 5 and 6, but there was only 6.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I thought I counted wrong, but
Oh,
They
by the
did.
way, folks, at YouTube, this is not a real knife. This is a rubber knife. So you can't freaking come at me saying you showed a knife on the stream.
Now, another thing too on this scene, wouldn't the swords that they used be coated in the pufferfish?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
No,
Because I was wondering about that. I thought they would
This
be
is only this is penance. This is not execution.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay.
yeah. They didn't mean to kill him. They were just
Okay.
like, step down. And he didn't step
Oh,
down,
okay.
so they're like, okay, your penance is 7 cuts.
Okay.
Or 6.
So then we get to the one who sits above the table, and John is brought to him, and it's the guy from G.I. Joe, Rise of Cobra, who played the Gearhead, who's also from Morocco. I forget his name, but yeah, it's that guy, and he plays the elder, and I think that he plays it so well because you see that he is caring. However, he is very much cold. Because you think that he's like, okay, or he's like, so you want to remember your wife through love or for love and whatnot. He's like, at least a chance to earn it. All right, I'll give you a choice, but it may not be a choice you want or you want. You will or complete a task for us. The excommunicado will be lifted and the contract closed. But you have to kill Winston, or the man they call Winston. He has forgotten his fealty. He's forgotten his loyalty to the table. And so John pledges, and he's like, now you need to prove to me that you will serve. Boom! Off with
Cuts
the
off his
freaking ring finger. And he then presents the ring of his wife to the elder. And I'm like, ow? Like, ow, ow. Like,
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed,
Yeah.
ow.
And then like they bring the
Yeah.
little like
The burner or the
burner,
thing
yeah,
to
to
cauterize it.
cauterize it, yeah. And it's
Yeah,
like,
it's like,
oh,
oh,
he's even putting it in
God.
himself.
Yeah, I mean, folks, just so you know, I only have 8 fingers. So, yeah. That's not
And
true.
he's already got
So
that
that's
burn
all.
on his back that
Yeah.
he's already got that burn on his back that he's like,
God,
The Rooster Roman.
that's like.
And then he's got his
Dang,
finger
dude.
burnt and cut off, like, and he has the stab wound, and he got shot in number 2. Like,
Mhm.
homie's messed up at this point.
Yeah, John Wick has been through the ringer essentially.
Some
But
shit.
they give him a
Yeah.
new suit.
Mm.
Well,
They give him a new suit.
Hey,
And
the new suit is good.
yeah,
mhm.
and it's coming from the one who sits above the table, so it's like
You
lips-
know
the
it's
lips
top
of
of the
sheep.
line
It's
if it's.
Oh, yeah.
schmancy. Yeah.
Mm.
So then basically he has to, or he will, or but also he will not be free from the table. He will be bound to it. Basically, when the table wants him to kill somebody, he is to do it or die.
Kills it. Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
And later on, though, when we get to the actual meeting between John and Winston, I love the exchange in that scene to bits because it's so freaking well written.
Mm.
Yep. So we then see that he's back in New York, and you see these 2 assassins about to go after Wick, but
Zero's men comes in.
Zero's men
Mm.
cut in and slice him up, and it's like, wait, are these Zero's men or are these the or the one who sits above the table's men? But then I realized, oh wait, yeah, those are Zero's men.
And then you hear
Because
like the whistle or something that he does. Does he do?
Yeah, and so you then see Wick and Zero making a beeline toward each other with their knives out, but then the kids come in. It's like, you see, that's why you're special, John. I wouldn't have stopped.
No.
And then you get the slide assassons.
Yeah.
Nice.
And
And it's like,
then it's like, here, let me take a page out of your book.
yeah. And so he's like, oh, or just stabs the dude and just rips him up. And he's like, he with you?
He was.
Yes.
It's like, oh shit. So then he also then just slides out, disappears, and he's like,
Nice
trick. Yeah. So John is basically gets into a bike chase where he does freaking bike foo. I mean, folks, that chase is so freaking nuts.
Honestly, it makes me wonder, like, where were you trained? You can fight people on horseback. You can fight people in a car. You can get on a motorbike and fight people. Like, what? What is your background, homie? Like, there's still so much mystery to this whole thing, and I like it, and I like that we don't know a lot about all of these underground things. I like that part of it. There's still like hidden mystery of like what's going on.
There's still an awe factor into it.
Yes.
And I like, so then after the chase, they crash at the Continental, and just as about he's to be shot, he puts his hand on the Continental steps.
And then Jaron comes in.
And that's when Sharon comes in, yeah.
And
he's like,
doesn't put on his gun. Then Zero's like, he's excommunicado.
He is on continental ground.
You will put your gun away.
Yeah. And John's like, I want to see the manager. He's like, of course.
He's expecting you in the lounge, sir. And so then we get the fucking fanboy.
That part.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck is going on here? This dude's like, I am such a fan. And
like,
is this the dog?
Wick.
The dog?
He's like,
and I'm like,
so far you haven't disappointed.
Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, man, if it wasn't for the rules right now, I'd blow your fucking head off. Because that is it's just, I mean, I'm flattered, but you're annoying.
And then Zero's pretty much just telling John, it's like, we're the same. He's like, no, we're not. And then John comes back and he says, the manager is in the administrative lounge.
Yeah.
And then just as John's about to leave, Zero goes, we are
both masters of death.
Yeah.
And so we then get the nice room between Winston and Wick, and he's like, and he basically spells it out for him. He's like, "You got out, you came back in,
for love.
and are you here to kill me? And if you're here to kill me, shoot me in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather die by a friend than
By the
by anyone else." Yep.
Mm.
And that's when the adjudicator comes in, because they realize that it's the hour that caused Winston to get in trouble.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yep. And so she comes down and she's
tells them point blank. He's like, since you're not going to step down and you disobey the direct order, both of your lives are now forfeit. And not only that, now the Continental is now deconsecrated.
Yep. Which is another basically code speak. It's like, I'd like to make or change a status. And it's the Penguin from Gotham, folks. You ever see the show Gotham?
I noticed that too. I've met him. He's super nice dude. Super nice guy.
I mean, it's the Penguin from Gotham.
He played the Penguin.
And
yeah.
He's it's like, New York Continental. What's the status? Deconsecrated. And I'm thinking to myself, I know what that means, and I don't even need to know what it means.
Yeah.
First time I saw it, I was like, that's when you know shit's about to go down.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Because she then turns, she's like, these business can now be conducted on Continental grounds. Emissaries will be here to relieve you of your souls. Or relieve your souls
from the building or something.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And I was like, what? The phrasing of it was very.
Right?
And then, like, right before she leaves, though, she goes to where Zero is, and he's like, it seems that there's some, there's been some changes, though. That
circumstances have changed in your favor. You can now conduct business on Continental grounds.
And then
our finest will be there to help you shortly. Cool.
Cool.
Very cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh my god, man.
So Vanya saying Continental's thumbs up?
Yep. I haven't, what is it on? Is it on Peacock or is it on?
It's on Peacock. Yeah.
I think it's on Peacock.
I've seen the trailer. It looks really good.
It's only 3 episodes, though, just to let you guys know.
That's it?
Well, yeah, because they're like an hour long or something?
I think so. Oh.
So it's just a mini series then. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So
they're
then we get
not continuing for Gotcha.
Yeah. So then we get the our services open to me under the circumstances. Your privileges are reinstated immediately. What do you need? Guns.
Lots of guns.
And it's like,
hell yeah,
baby. So we then see the high table emissaries, and these guys are straight out of fucking Metal Gear Solid 2. And I'm like, or if you guys have played that game, where after you get a bunch of freaking alerts, these guys come in. And these guys are freaking armored. They have shotguns, shields, and riot gear. And it's like, since you've been away, armor improvements have gone drastically up. I mean, these guys are taking shots and not even flinching. And so they're like,
yeah,
we're going to use armor-piercing bullets for 9mm. And it's like, yeah, 9mm armor piercers, sure, they'll go through standard flak jacket, but against heavily armored, they ain't penetrating.
Yeah.
Nah.
So we then see them load up, and we also see Winston drop the line, Civis Pacem Parabellum. And when the emissaries come in, you see the concierge will be with you shortly, and it's like, yeah, no joke, he's about to go in and start shooting.
And on top of that, I noticed that when Winston tells Sharon, will you help set the mood for our guests? And then they power it down a bit. And in terms of the music, I realized that they're also playing a particular track from the Four Seasons, basically Winter. I think it was Vivaldi, the name of that artist. But I recognized that tune easily.
Yeah. And so we get the shoot-ups, and I love how the adjudicator calls Winston, and he's like, you don't really think, and it's like, click.
The look on her face, though, the look on her face was like priceless.
It was.
Yep.
And,
It really
and
was, and it's like,
she thought she was gonna get this in
She's
the
like,
bag.
did he really? Yeah.
But the funny
like-
thing is, if you really think about it, when Winston was talking about fealty, it occurred to me that he's probably talking about a different type of fealty that the adjudicator doesn't. I mean, the
understand.
adjudicator is actually permissible, but it just didn't occur to her till later.
Yep. And so
I think you're absolutely right, just due to the ending of the film.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And so it's we then see that the emissaries take out most of the staff except for Wick and Sharon, and so he's like, Winston! Click. Come on. He's like, I need more firepower.
And he's like, what do you think? He's like, take your pick.
Take your pick, man. And so then Sharon comes in and it's like, armor
Gets a-
improvements. Yeah, shotguns, armor piercing. And it's like, okay, yeah, and that's when they actually start taking or getting shit out, man. So then basically Sharon is left.
Like, I should mention though, as that firefight's going on, it also occurred to me that remember, Zero is also in the building with them. So there's a point where John is dealing with one, and then another of those guys is about to kill him, and then Zero just steps in. He's like, I told you, John, it's just going to be you and me on this one.
Yep. And so John goes into the water to get his pistol and starts shooting, and it's like, fuck you, man. I'm not giving you that kind of chance.
So were any of you guys annoyed with the part where like John Wick just keeps getting thrown into like the boxes of glass?
Oh yeah, we're getting to that.
Okay,
the Hall of Skulls.
Okay, did I jump forward too much? Okay, sorry.
A little.
Just a
no,
little
actually,
A
that's
little bit.
basically
We're
where
still
it is.
Okay, I
We
thought
get-
I was like, are we
yeah.
right there or?
The Hall of Crystal Skulls is what I call it because it is crystal skulls.
I can see
basically.
how.
Yeah.
And these two guys are just freaking throwing him into these things, and it's like,
Mm.
how the hell are you even able to stand? I mean, yeah, your suit is ballistic chic, but it's like your body can only take so much, man.
Mm.
And I love
mean,
how
Especially
they're
since
like,
you're already
like,
rather than
something.
tattered before this fight, you know.
Yeesh.
and then they're like, pleasure to meet you, Mr. Wick. Pleasure to meet you, Mr. Wick. And it's an honor to fight with you. And so they start kicking his ass, and so it's like,
While they're also
man.
conversing with each other.
yeah, it's like
And then
he's gotten slower.
and then he said,
Yes.
and then they start using those
He's been
small
retired.
blades, and then John is basically fighting them with a belt.
Yeah, before we get there, he's struggling to get up, and they reach out a hand, and he's like, I
He's
can
like,
get
give
up.
me a moment.
So then he just pulls out his belt, and then it's like, okay, round two. Let's see what you got. Because they said he's gotten slower, and he's like, well, he has been retired for 5 years. He knows exactly what they're saying because he also speaks Japanese. So it's like,
Well,
okay, time to
actually,
show
the thing
these
is,
little
most of them
fuckers what. Yeah, it's like time to show these
actually, I know
little
it's a
fuckers what's
different
what.
language, though. I think it was like Indonesian because
Yeah.
those two guys, they're a different type of assassin, so to speak.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And so they get their asses handed to them. They don't get killed. He just basically they get knocked down at the end, and he's like, he looks at him and he's like, basically telling him, you can live. I don't want to kill you anymore. And he tells him, be seeing you. And they're like, okay, well, we're down. We're done.
Yeah.
And so then it's
And then-
Wick versus Zero. Good choreography in this one too. And pressure points, or the pressure point stab, where Wick stabs him in the shoulder, and he goes to make a move, but his arm is bleeding profusely. So it's like, yeah, he hit a nerve, or he sliced a nerve ending. Your arm is shot, dude. So he's like, I'll fight you with one arm. Well, that doesn't go very well. And he's like,
yep.
good fight, John. It's like, dude, you're still talking?
You see him like slowly rise up during that. It's like, good fight, and you see like the sword like sticking out of him.
Out of him, yeah. It's like, you see you, John? No, you won't.
And then it's
I
like,
love that. Yep.
It's like, bro,
Might I
you've been
suggest a
impaled.
parlay?
You're gonna be seeing death pretty soon, homie. Like,
Yeah.
Jokingly, I'll be with
Like-
you in a bit. He's like, no, you're not.
no.
Yeah. I'll be
No.
seeing you again, John. No, you won't. And it's like, oh my
It's
God,
so
John
casual.
Wick. Yeah. And so we get the parlay on the roof, and the lights go on, and I love what she says. She's like, we are High Table, and we are New York City. Do you think that my allegiances stop at this building? I mean, sure, you could take the Continental back, but can you hold it? I mean, he
Right.
is basically letting her know that, yes, I serve the table and whatnot. However, I have cultivated a lot here. I am more of an asset to you than I am an enemy. And if you have me as an enemy, I will make the High Table
Big
pay
mistake.
dearly for or spend loads of assets. This will be a protracted conflict. Well, she's like, you were showing a progression or a projection of strength, so that so that you could keep the Continental. And he's like, yes, let me have my power, or give me back my power, and I will serve. I overstepped, I admit, and we can just put this behind us. Okay, fine. The High Table accepts your fealty. But what about him?
What are
What
we going
are we
to
gonna
do about John Wick?
John.
I,
Well, he has to die. Boom. And I'm like, fuck. You didn't even give him any sort of
It
warning.
wasn't even the shot though. It was the fall down. I was like, oh,
that was my problem too.
I was like,
And
he
especially,
would have died with that. I'm gonna call BS on that. Just I like these movies. I enjoy them, but I'm gonna call BS on that. Yeah, he would have died. Yeah, exactly.
There's no way that he would have lived.
There's no way.
And then Winston's like shooting him too.
Yeah,
like
sorry,
he's
Jonathan.
like, Winston. It's like, boom.
Like, Winston.
Right?
What, dude? Stop. And so then we see that the dog she's about to leave, but then she decides to check the alleyway, and it's like, Mr. Wick is gone. A true tragedy. You misunderstand. He's not in the alleyway. That seems impossible. However, still true. We do not, or you better clean this up quickly, because we do not need John Wick visiting it, or a visit from John Wick in the night. And it's like, yeah, because you know that he will fucking end you in the night.
Yep.
Or when you least expect it. And that's why he says at the end when she's walking away, Baba Yaga. It's like, yeah, you've made an enemy of Wick. So, Winston, you are basically considered an enemy of John Wick right now. But you also see the dog running out of the hotel, and it's like, or running to the alleyway, so the dog knows that his owner is alive.
Yep.
So it's like, yeah. And we then see the Bowery has scooped up John, and it's like, hey, John, raise a hand if you can hear me.
And he's got like those slashes.
Took the finger.
No, it's
yeah, his
like,
face
raise
is
your
all
hand,
scarred
and then it's like,
oh, it's like a finger.
they got
Ain't that a bitch?
and then it just.
It's like,
That was the best scene. I was like, yeah.
And he's like, old man gets his hotel back, you take the fall. But this High Table shit. You cut a king, you better make sure you cut him to the quick. So are you pissed off, John? Huh? Are you? Yeah.
I'm pissed.
And that's where it ends. And it's like, damn, dude. I want to see more. So I remember before the fourth movie came out, people were actually saying that the fourth movie was going to be a prequel to the first movie. It's like, don't give me a fucking prequel. Give me the fucking fourth chapter.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to see Wick go to war.
That's
Mm.
for sure, and especially because they've given us just tasters throughout the whole thing. Just in the perspective of John Wick, we don't know everything. We don't know all. There may be other. Correct, and that's why the universe is so cool as far as because it's so mysterious still. There's still that awe, like you were saying, Fade, earlier. There's still of what's next? What is this? What and there's still that curiosity. If they had done a prequel, they would have pissed off a lot of fans.
Oh yeah. So, anybody have any things or any nitpicks they want to cover? Because I know, Fade, you said you had a couple of nitpicks.
Yes, when Winston stabbed, Wick in the back, it's like, okay, why are you doing that when you know what he's capable of, Especially trying to kill him, It's like...
Well, the way I speculate on that is he knows that John Wick will give him a chance to explain.
Okay.
Right,
I mean, they've known each other. Because when we get to the fourth one next week, folks, I'm going to drop a speculative theory.
Okay.
And because, believe me, I do not ever think that he would kill Winston. And there's a reason for it. And I don't think that Winston would ever kill John Wick. And there's a reason for it. But we will get to it next week, folks. Anybody else have any nitpicks before we go?
I just had just one little one. I like that the movies are shooty bang bang action, but I wish the pacing wasn't just because sometimes I get bored with I'm like, okay, another fight scene, even though the choreography is great and everything. If the pacing of the pacing of specifically this movie, it was action scene, talking scene, action scene, talking scene, action scene, talking scene, and I don't know, it needed a little bit more on the writing end of pacing for me.
Right. Yeah.
It lost me in a little bit of areas where I would have to go back because I just checked out for a minute. And especially in number 4, but we'll get to that next week. But it was the pacing of it was just a little choppy, and I kind of I had to go back and rewatch his fight scene, the final fight scene, because I was like, man, I kind of just checked out in that. And I love shooty bang bang action films, so it wasn't that the choreography was bad or anything like that. It was just, like I said,
I think compared to the other movies, I mean, this one we knew for sure was getting a sequel compared to the other two.
For sure.
Where they were kind of up in the air on it. They weren't sure if they were going to get, the amount of money to produce a sequel to it.
For sure.
This one made a profit, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I mean...
Did they all make profit, though?
Yes, they all made profit.
Okay. I thought so.
Here's the thing, folks. As much as next week we are covering Chapter 4. To me, that is a concluding chapter, and we will get into it next week. However, Stahelski is like, dude, I got notes for John Wick 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's like, shut. No. He's dead.
How? How?
I will we'll get into it next week.
We'll find out next week.
Okay. Yeah, let's go.
So, with that, does anybody have anything they want to plug? We'll start with ladies first. Nerd, anything?
I'm just plugging you guys today. I'm in transition and moving, so I'm not really doing anything right now. So I'm just here for you.
She's plugging the guys. Oh my.
It's all you.
Oh.
Hey.
Heyo. All right. So.
Heyo.
Skyhound, anything that you got to plug?
In my case, like I mentioned a while ago, I got a few little research projects I'm working on, and at the same time, I'm thinking of probably like doing like my own review on some films that I haven't seen in a while. Plus, considering that November is coming around, I can say this for any Ranger fans: we know exactly what is next month, so I'm likely going to be doing a tribute of some sort for next month.
All right. Fade, anything?
Well, I can't be selfless like these two wonderful people here. You guys can find me on Fade Salvation. I do figure news or videos and all that, and if you guys want to check me out, you'll probably find me on here. I also did a post on here, so hopefully you guys should find it. And as well as subscribe to the Orange Man here.
Thank you. So, as for me, folks, Tuesday I have my Aliens versus Military, or Military versus Aliens, however you want to put it, and it's going to be Independence Day, the extended edition.
Ooh, yeah.
That's going to be 1:30 p.m. in the afternoon. Also, it's not going to be like the mystery review where I go scene by scene, because yes, I do realize that one of my last mystery reviews was Independence Day. So yes, my mystery reviews that are discontinued. So I will be going, or it will be a much shorter review than the mystery review. Wednesday, me and Mara are back on her channel with the 1s and 2s. We are going to be doing the original 1978 Halloween, which I'm going to be
with
doing
Mara
a nice
Jade.
thing with this. Yep, with Mara Jade Shadow. And that will be 8 p.m. Eastern Standard. Then Thursday is the singles, where me and her are going to be discussing the 1992 Bram Stoker's Dracula from Francis Ford Coppola. And folks, I got some trivia for that you guys are going to like. So definitely stay tuned for that, 8 p.m., same time. Other than that, next week, Baba Yaga gets the biggest shock of his life in chapter 4. So, yeah, we are going to be finishing off John Wick, or the Book of Wick, and we will be I will be announcing the next movie series or sequence or streams next week at the end of the Book of Wick stream. So definitely stay tuned, everybody. Thank you all so much for tuning in. This has been Orange Hat and the Hat Crew. You all are freaking amazing. Thank you to Vanya, Cold Classic Cage, Fate Salvation, Cayman Rider, and my buddy Craig Hutchinson. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I still need to get 1,000 hours on the watch time to get to 4,000 hours. So if you could help out, check out the playlists. I have a bunch. The mystery reviews has a bunch that would definitely help if you can. Anyway, folks, you all are amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful night. And always remember to stay humble.
Yeah, stay humble.
Yep.